episode of Keep It on the DL. I'm Devin. Alongside me, as always, my main man Lou. Lou, we actually got a lot to talk about this week. Nothing too serious, but like we were saying off air, a lot of small but big things. And we'll just lead right into it. We'll talk about some hot stove. So really the first major, no, I wouldn't say major, but first noticeable move of the hot stove has been made by none other than the Kansas City Royals and their part owner, Patrick Mahomes. Don't forget about that. They signed Carlos Santana to a 2-year, $17.5 million contract. Santana last year, he hit below the Mendoza line, hit below 200, batted 199, 8 homers, 30 ribbies, and a 699 OPS. So, Lou, give me your thoughts on the sign.
Yeah, so Kansas City goes out, gets a first baseman. Not exactly what I thought they needed. Maybe Santana's personal friends with Patrick Mahomes, but I don't mean Carlos Santana to be the first player signed, or one of the first players signed is, I wouldn't say like alarming, like wow, it's surprising. But going to Kansas City, I don't totally understand what Kansas City's trying to do with this move. You're getting a player at the end of his prime. He kind of seems like a backup at this point in his career. He is a switch hitter, so he does provide that to a lineup, provide some balance inside of a lineup. I don't think he's an everyday player anymore. I don't expect him to play upwards of 140 games. I think right around 100 is reasonable for Santana right now in his career, but 2 years, $17 million. Maybe, just offer his advice to the young kids that Kansas City has. But other than that, that move to me, not a little bit of a head scratcher. But hey, Santana's making about $9 million, little under $9 million a year. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that's making out best in this deal. I agree. Obviously, the Royals are in no man's land. Ever since the World Series back in 2015 when they beat the Mets, they've kind of been like that. They really don't have a direction. Yost, he's no longer the manager out there. So they're in a very weird position. I agree. I think Santana's going to be more of a bench guy. They're going to be paying a lot for a bench guy, a little under $9 million a year. It's going to be interesting. And as far as his production, I mean, Kaufman has always had a reputation of not being a hitter's park either. So it's not like his numbers are going to skyrocket like he's a left-handed hitter and has the short porch and right for Yankee Stadium or even the pesky pole for Fenway. But a noticeable name, like I said, coming off the books here for the hot stove. Hopefully the next one will be DJ LeMahieu staying in pinstripes. Which, by the way, Lou, just a quick note about LeMahieu. Did you see Voigt's, what did he say about what he said about LeMahieu earlier this afternoon?
Yeah, he said he plans on him being a Yankee, pretty much.
Yep, exactly.
5 years, $100 million is the number that the agent wants for LeMahieu. We'll see what the Yankees do about it. They don't seem like they're going to spend that to go get him. They think it's too much. So we'll see. We'll see. That's what the agent wants, and it does. I do not think that's going to be the end-all, be-all deal for him, for his agent. But that's what they're looking for. Maybe a team's willing to do it, but the Yankees are not. I'm telling you right now that they're not paying DJ LeMahieu $100 million a year for 5 years. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing their due diligence when it comes to LeMahieu. He's the best hitter in baseball, coming off another MVP-type season. I mean, why wouldn't you be commanding that money? I mean, he and his agent are doing what they have to do. And I think that eventually he'll stay in pinstripes. It's just a matter of what the dollars and cents come out to.
I mean, I look for something around 4 for 85 as the final.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A little north, what is that, 22.5 a year, 21.5, something like that. I think that's very fair for LeMahieu, and obviously a big boost in what he was earning in 18 and 19. Next up, we got another move with the hot stove in the MLB offseason. Lance Lynn, also former New York Yankee. Kind of weird to think about that. I always forget that he was a Yankee in a deadline acquisition for them too.
Yep, him and J.A. Happ kept the wrong
him
one.
and J. Happ, exactly. I know. It would have been nice to keep him.
Hindsight,
but
though. It's a hindsight thing.
Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20, dude. Always. Yep. But he's heading to the south side. He's going to the White Sox. He got traded yesterday. It looks like they traded. What did they trade here? The White Sox traded 25-year-old right-hander Dane Dunning, who along with him is left-handed pitching prospect Avery Weems, going to Texas. So the White Sox had another arm in addition to Keuchel and Giolito. So that's a very nice 1-2-3 punch there for a team that's really up and coming. And that will be a force to be reckoned with in the AL.
Yeah, and Ronaldo
they are able to have a full season
Lopez
this year.
is still young too, so they have a 4-man deep rotation there. The White Sox. I thought this was a pretty good trade for both sides actually, because guess what? The Rangers aren't going anywhere. They're losing Mike Minor in free agency. Lance Lynn just got traded. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Joey Gallo go next. The Rangers are in sell mode. They need to get younger. They need to, you had Delino DeShields, I think, and I don't think they had him this year, but he was the starting center fielder a couple years ago. He was older. The Rangers need to just get younger and just play better. They played awfully last year, and I think you're going to see some more people get traded here for some prospects. So I think Gallo's next.
I agree. I think Gallo is definitely going to be on the move. To who and for what, I don't know. But it's. I thought we were going to see a lot more out of the Rangers here. You always see when a team opens up a new stadium, they want to hit the ground running. Be competitive in that first year, and they absolutely were not. But I do got to say, those powder blue jerseys are so nice that they have. I love them. That's the best thing the Rangers have done in a very, very long time. They look so good out there. So hopefully those, like the Chargers, exactly, same powder blue. Those powder blues, man, they get me every time. Yep, I'm glad the Chargers jerseys are one of the best in the NFL, too, with the redesign. But not to get off topic, it's a great deal, I think, for both sides. It's very evident that the Rangers are rebuilding here. So we'll see what they do as far as moving a guy like Gallo. Who knows? But again, another team that's kind of in no man's land. They're in a similar situation with the Royals. The Royals don't really have any superstars, but I would still consider Gallo a fantastic player in this league. But whether the Rangers move on for him is still to be seen, so we'll see about that. And then, Luke, give us one more deal that you want to touch upon, too.
Rafael Iglesias going from Cincinnati to the Angels, and this is a trade I think the Angels made out on big time. This is a young guy who's got nasty stuff going to their bullpen. Hansel Robles has come around in the Angels' bullpen. So the Angels are finally getting some pieces in that pen, adding Iglesias. I don't understand the trade for Cincinnati here. No Ramirez is terrible. They get him in return. He's just another bullpen piece. He's horrible. And Cash are a player to be named later. So I'm not understanding this trade for Cincy. They're giving away a young guy who's got a closer's type stuff and trading him to L.A. And L.A.'s just giving him a trash bullpen guy and no Ramirez, and Cash are a player to be named. So I really like this trade for the Angels. You don't say that much when the Angels do something big, but this one I do like for them.
All right. Yeah, so there it is. The Angels, another team that's really trying to be aggressive. They've been aggressive the past last offseason. Let's see if they can be aggressive again this year. I think there's a lot of reason for optimism in L.A., or rather in Anaheim. Maybe they get Trevor Bauer. Who knows? We'll see. It's about time that they fill in some pieces around their boy Mike Trout, one of the all-time greats already in the game of baseball.
Yep.
Next up, you want to say something?
I just said, yep, Mike Trout needs some help, man. But one of the greatest players in baseball, played in one playoff series in his life, so they got to get him some help.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very clear there. Next up, we'll just hop over to the NHL real quick. Finally, something I've been waiting for, and along with every other hockey fan in the universe, some good news when it comes to the NHL. They figured out the financial issues in the CBA. The NHLPA and NHL are finally on the same page. A big difference from when we were talking last week. And it seems evident that they're going to play anywhere between 52 to 56 games. The NHLPA is trying to get 56 games to work, but there's still a bunch of hurdles to be left for the NHL, even though they did figure out the financial issues, which always is the number one priority. Now they have to figure out the logistics. So now you got to figure out how to get these guys back from Europe, figure in the time where they have to serve their 2-week quarantine upon returning to their respective states or provinces in Canada's situation. And then you know what? Then you have to think about teams like the Devils, like the Red Wings, like the Sabres, the 7 teams that didn't make the play-in originally when they returned to play. How much more time are they going to have to get their guys back on the ice? Because when push comes to shove, the Devils aren't going to be, well, they wouldn't have had played a game in almost 10 months, or just about 10 months exactly, which is remarkable. It's about 4 months more than a normal offseason. So there's a lot of hurdles to be drawn up or to be avoided by the NHL. They'll get it done. They're moving very, very quickly. They're already expecting to have a Board of Governors meeting next week to hash out everything. But the one thing that has come out with these developments are the realignments. So they're going to have temporary divisional realignments for the NHL this year. Really, it's based upon, obviously, where they are geographically. Simply put, all the Canadian teams are just going to play each other all year since they cannot cross the border. The government will not let them. Very similar situation to the Blue Jays, which is why they played in Buffalo for this season. And, of course, with the Raptors playing down in Tampa. So all the Canadian teams, all 7 of them, will just play each other all year. I'm very excited to see how that schedule turns out since, Vancouver and Montreal are on 2 complete opposite ends of the country. How's that schedule going to work out? They're just going to have to stay on their respective coasts and play their respective teams for a course of 7 to 10 days. And you got Winnipeg in the middle. So that's going to be very interesting. It looks like they don't have names for the divisions yet. But one division is going to consist of the Devils, the Rangers, the Islanders, of course, with the metro area, the Caps, the Flyers, the Penguins, the Sabres, and the Bruins. So the Metro is going to look very different. So it looks like the Blue Jackets and the Canes are out, and the Sabres and Bruins are in. It's good news for that division for the Metro because the Canes and Jackets are 2 perennial playoff teams. But you do add the powerhouse Boston Bruins, which is a team that is probably going to win the Eastern Conference again. So big test for that division. Next, we have the West and the Central, I guess you'll say. So I was actually reading something right before we went on air, Lou, that had to deal with the Wild and the Blues. So geographically, St. Louis and Minneapolis are very, very close. They can play in the West or they can play in the East. So how do you divvy that up? With the Central Time Zone, they are 2 hours ahead of the West Coast. So for a fan of the Blues, for example, since they are playing in the West, a majority of their games are going to start at 9 o'clock local time, which is obviously late. No fan wants to watch a game at 9 o'clock. But believe it or not, the Blues had a preference to starting, or rather to be in the Western Division as opposed to the East, because they'd rather have all their fans home and in their homes watching the games a little later rather than starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, which is 6 o'clock Central. Maybe not a lot of people are home from work at that time. So the Blues are going to be in the division with the Avs, the Stars, the Coyotes, the Knights, and then the California teams, LA, Anaheim, and San Jose. The Wild, they're going to be in division with the Blackhawks, the Red Wings, the Blue Jackets, the Predators, the Canes, the Lightning, and the Panthers.
I don't know why St. Louis just doesn't go to that division.
But that means the Wild would have to go out west. You could have done either one. I agree, Lou. I think that St. Louis should have been in that division with the Florida teams and the Canes.
And that division would have had
either which way,
one
it's
more person or two more people than
they would have had one more. Yeah, so they would have had 3, 6. 8,
so the West would have had one
teams.
less. The Central would have had one more than the
One
East.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, and the Blues didn't want to. Apparently, their broadcast team and their owners didn't want to play in the East.
I mean, I think that I think just with the way this season's going to be, it would have been fine keeping them in the Central, because if you recall, before this NFL season started, I said that the NFL should almost look into doing something like this, where the Giants, the Jets, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bills, Washington, those teams in the Northeast all kind of bubble up as one big division, and you kind of create pocket divisions around the U.S. And you don't have teams flying way across the globe. But I don't think having one more team in the Central would have been a big deal. I mean, when you think about it, baseball did it with the Astros in the National League for a while. So I don't think for 1 year it would have been a big deal keeping the Blues in that Central zone. I think I would have moved Columbus maybe. Never mind. No, not Columbus. They're Ohio. But I think that it's okay keeping one extra team in the Central. But that's just me.
No, I don't totally agree with you. Or rather, I should say, totally disagree with you, because I kind of have the same mindset. I think between the Wild, with them being in Minnesota and the Blues being in Missouri, they're very similar geographically, like I said. So either which way, they would have had to travel.
I mean, if you put the Lightning in the East, then that gets real stacked.
Well, the Lightning again, but that's another question for me. What is going to happen with the conferences? I don't know how the playoffs are going to work.
I think it's
so. Who's considered the East? Who's considered the West?
Right.
Because all the Canadian teams are in one division, and then you have the Wild and the Panthers, for example, in the same division. That's Florida and Minnesota.
Yeah.
A Western Conference team and Eastern Conference team. So I don't know how the heck this is going to work. It looks like to me the best way to do it would just be the best 24 teams. That's it. So there wouldn't be any divisions per se. No one's going to win a division title. You're just going to get a playoff berth, which is very good news for
I don't know about top 24.
A team like that.
I don't know about top 24. I think that's way too much. But I would go maybe the top four in each division that they have right now.
Okay.
Top 4 in each division.
Yeah.
And that's it. No wild card. Just top 4 in each division. Or maybe if you want to do
4, 8, 12, that would be 16 teams. They're going to be an expanded playoff. There has to be. It's only 56
compared
games.
to what, 60?
I think, at least. As opposed to 82.
Oh, right, 82. Okay. Yeah.
82.
Okay. Yeah, maybe there are they can do that first round thing they did with COVID last year, where we saw the Rangers play the Caps in 3 games. Not the Caps, the Canes.
Yeah.
So I think that was interesting. I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that too. I think they'll figure it out. The NHL always does.
They do.
So I'm sure a week from today we'll have some more developments.
Yes, but it could
when it comes
tip your cap to them.
NHL.
They really only delayed this by 2 weeks, and it could have been much worse. So you're thankful that it went from the 1st to the 13th and not the 1st to March 13th. So this was good. This was good that they got it done within 2 weeks here.
No, it definitely was. It definitely was, and everybody, all hockey fans are happy, including myself. I can't wait to see the Devils back in the ice. It's been forever. Well, from the professional guys, we're going to move on to college. And believe it or not, there's a lot of storylines with college football. We just learned of something right before we went on air, right before I hit the record button, actually, pretty much. LSU. So looks like they're inflicting a ban on bowl games. A year. How would you
A
word that?
1-year bowl game ban.
Yes, thank you. A 1-year bowl game ban for the football program. And we've seen programs do this in the past. I know you brought up that Auburn basketball did it, what'd you say, 2 years ago?
Auburn, no, this season. This season.
This season.
Yeah, this season, Auburn as well. A few weeks ago, we didn't get into it in our last show, but a couple weeks ago, Auburn inflicted a tournament ban, playoff ban on themselves. So I mean, these self-imposed ban things, it's good that schools are taking some initiative here and, punishing themselves, but it could be also, Dev, if you stole $20 off your mom's dresser when you were 13, do you tell her so you only have to give her back 10? Or do you not tell her and see if she realizes and then have to give her back 40? So it's kind of are you doing this because you don't want to miss out on the bowl games for the next 5 seasons or the tournament for the next 5 seasons? So I definitely question the motive. I don't think there's anything wrong with inflicting yourself a self-imposed ban, but I am questioning the motive as if it's to have them go lighter on a penalty or have them stop investigating or saying, you know what, they're going to give themselves a ban, let's just cool it on this and take it back. Because I believe the FBI is involved in Auburn right now. So I think what should happen is they should treat it like anything else, with how Penn State got their ban and other teams. They got to do the due diligence. You say, all right, you think a self-imposed ban of 1 year was good. We felt that it should be 3, so we're adding 2 more years. And you leave it at that. But I definitely am going to question the motive behind self-imposed bans being like, take it easy on us. We'll just sit out. We'll just sit out a year. That's like some guy saying like, hey, I might have took steroids. I'm just going to self-impose a 25-game ban so you don't have to give me 80.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you in that they're kind of just doing it so that the NCAA doesn't come down on them more harsher, if that's a word.
More harshly, yeah.
Kind of beating them to it more harshly. Yes, thank you. And they're beating them to the gun. In LSU's case, this means absolutely nothing. Apparently, from what you were telling me, this happened before Coach O took over, which is at least 3 or 4 years ago. So they've known about this for 3 or 4 years. They obviously were not going to self-impose a ban last year when they had Joe Burrow and were on their way to win a national championship. They'll do it during a year where they are, I believe, they're like 2-6, and they weren't making a bowl anyway. So we're gonna self-impose a ban, a bowl ban on us because we were really bad 3 or 4 years ago. It doesn't mean shit right now. It doesn't mean anything because they weren't gonna make a bowl anyway. But in the eyes of the NCAA, I guess they're gonna be like, okay, they kind of did it. They see where they went wrong, and then they'll be good next year. They'll be fine next year. They weren't going anywhere this year anyway. So now they just play 2 scrimmages against UF and Ole Miss. And the season's over. It would have been over in 2 weeks anyway.
Right.
So those are my thoughts. I'm a big Coach O guy, so I could never see the guy breaking the rule, to be honest with you. He just wants to do everything hard-nosed and wants to do everything the right way. He's a coach's coach and the ultimate football guy. I love him.
He's a great personality too.
Yeah, he's a great personality. And sticking with college football, we got news yesterday that the game, as Ohio State and Michigan call it, has been canceled. So for the first time since 1917, so 103 years, Michigan and Ohio State will not be playing this year.
So was it because Michigan had positive cases, or if Michigan did have positive cases? Okay. Yeah. I thought Michigan was just a little scared and didn't want to play.
No, that's probably what it was too. So they probably all got COVID on purpose. They want to play Ohio State. But yes, so Jim Harbaugh looks like he's going to be fired at the end of the year, and he's going to go his tenure without beating the Bucks, which is awesome. But this leaves a big wrinkle for the Big Ten as far as the championship game goes. But I think they gave Ohio State the automatic bid anyway for the Big Ten championship in 2 weeks when they're playing.
They did. I
Northwestern.
saw something about them having to have 6 games to
right,
be.
I saw that too, and they eligible.
Yeah,
right?
they need 6 games to be bowl eligible.
Yeah, which they vetoed that, right? They just cleared
Yes.
that, I think. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, that's what you're going to have to do. It's nobody's fault that the game is canceled. Just college sports as a whole is just weird this year. You know, obviously, there's going to be a national championship crowned. Hopefully, I shouldn't say obviously, but it's not going to feel the same. These schedules are all out of whack. I mean, an Ohio State-Michigan game not being played in football is like the Pope not celebrating Easter.
You know, you're
football,
right.
You know? Yeah.
And that
really
brings me to
is.
the point, Dev. I mean, should college sports even be playing right now? College sports in general, should they be playing right now?
Your boy Coach K doesn't think so because they got
He didn't
embarrassed
say
last
that
night.
they shouldn't be playing. He wants them to just look into these protocols and so on and so forth. He didn't say to stop the season necessarily, but he did question, you know, if it's the best idea. But like I said, regardless of what Coach K said, Dev, should they be playing?
Well, what's the difference between them and pro sports, though? Both of them are getting tested.
I mean, the
consistently.
biggest difference is that they're college kids and they're away from home. They're not, you know, when these guys, after they play a game, they go back home. They don't have to do any kind of classes or go to any kind of classes or walk across a campus or they're responsible adults. And you have college kids they're college kids. That's what they are. When you're a college kid, you weren't going to stay in your dorm the whole day. You're just not going to do it. So that's the difference between college and the professionals right now. And professionals are also getting paid a lot of money, and college kids are not getting paid.
Right.
So,
But I think it's even more important. I'll go on a limb. I'm just saying this kind of out of the blue too, so I might retract my statement like tomorrow. But I think it's more important to have college sports on than professional sports right now, and I'll tell you why. I think, and we've talked about this too, these guys, some of them, obviously not all of them, a very small percentage of them, are playing for their draft stock in major sports like basketball and football. If you have a senior, like you always see a breakout senior, right? Just has a crazy year, some wide receiver, running back, even a quarterback. They got drafted in the 6th or 7th round. You know, they made it. They made it at least for a few years, and they can make it the name of themselves. They got the foot in the door. A lot of those kids are going to lose out on that opportunity, you know? And a lot of these guys are going to lose eligibility, and they're not banking, but these programs are just built to produce professional athletes. And these guys aren't going to have an opportunity. Like I keep saying, they're losing a year in which they have an opportunity to try to go pro. And I think that obviously hurts them a lot more than professional sports, professional athletes.
I think it's just an absolutely crazy take. I mean, you just give them another year of eligibility and move on with it. You're not going to make them miss a year. You just give them another year of eligibility and move on. That's the easy way to fix that. And no, college sports are not more important than professional sports in any way, shape, or form. There's so much more in professional sports with contracts and TV deals. And saying that college sports does have TV deals as well, but it's just much more important than college. These are professionals. These guys bring in the big bucks. So it's professionals first, and then college. I mean, what's more important too? Is it more important to the players? To the players, you can say maybe a college kid. It's more important to the college player than it is the professional athlete. I can be convinced of that, but just in general, I can't be convinced about that. That's out the window for me.
Professional sports is always going to take higher precedence than to college sports. Obviously, that goes without saying. And I think that's the angle I'm thinking, Lou, is just that it means more to the kids than it does to
That's
the
fine.
professional
That's a
athletes.
fine statement. But that's okay.
That's what
but
I'm
college,
trying to say.
College sports are not
That's
bigger
fine.
than professional sports now.
No, but I also think at the same time, I think we're a little blinded because we live in the New York City metro area. So we have 2 teams in almost every major sport. Even the MLS, we have 2 teams. You know, it's crazy. But when you think of somebody who lives in Manhattan, Kansas, they just eat, sleep, and breathe Kansas State basketball, Kansas State everything, especially with the Buckeyes. I mean, Columbus, all of Ohio. All they do is eat, sleep, and breathe Ohio State Buckeye sports. If college sports were to not be allowed or were to stop, it would be sad for those people, and I would feel bad, especially during these times, because they don't really have anything to bank on, because they do just focus on college sports more so than professional sports. And I think that's why they also have to stay in play too. But like, I also understand the whole thing, like you said, that they are kids. They're not professional athletes. You know, they don't have anything else to rest on. They got to go back and stay in their dorms and whatnot. But the other end of that argument is that that's what they signed up for too. If somebody from LA wanted to come and play for Rutgers, that's what you signed up for, dude. Like, you're going to be away from your family. You know, and you're going to be living in a dorm on Rutgers' beautiful New Brunswick campus. You know? So I get both ends of the argument. That's why it's so hard either way.
Yeah, I mean, I do think college basketball is okay to be playing right now. There's only 10 kids on the court at a time. Their benches are completely spread apart. There's only a handful of kids on the team. There's maybe 15 kids on the team. Compared to football, there's 22 on the field at once. And there's 50 guys on a college sideline. There's a lot more people, a lot more closer contact, so on and so forth in football than there is in basketball. So I'm okay with college basketball being played here. I don't think it's serious in both sports, but I don't think it's as it's not as contagious. It's not as widespread, I think, on basketball than it is football. And there's so many more opportunities for a football player to get it than a football team than a basketball team, just because the probability is higher. There's more people, and so on and so forth. So I do think that college football having a season this year, I do think it's a mistake. I don't think they ever should have started. Look, your best player in college football in the last, I don't know how many years, probably maybe your quarterback of your Saquon Barkley quarterback, I guess equivalency here, got COVID, missed a couple games. Just, I don't think college football ever should have started playing, and I think basketball's okay, just because the probabilities are lower, there's less people on the team, and so on and so forth. But you're seeing at some of these teams, they had multiple outbreaks. They've had an outbreak 1 week, and then in another 2 weeks they got another one. Just because of the amount of players on the team and the amount of bodies, it's just the probability is higher. And they're college kids, man. They're college kids. They're not going to stay locked up in their dorm. They're just not going to do it. I mean, you remember when we were at Marist, it was your sophomore year, my junior year, and there was that tweet incident of someone who, threatened to come to Marist with a gun and whatnot. Yes. I mean, you weren't going to keep us in there for more than a day. No chance. You were going to keep college kids cooped up in the dorm for more than a day. Just what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, kids were leaving as it was happening anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, either which way, it's a mess. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer, because money talks, and these programs make so much money, and that's the bottom line. And these universities, I think, and these programs are going to do everything they can in their power to try to have these games played still. So we'll see what happens with college sports. We'll bounce back to the professional spectrum. We'll talk some NFL. We had two very interesting storylines, one that happened last night and one that happened on Sunday. I'll start with Sunday. The Jets somehow, in only Jet fashion, lost their football game on Sunday when they were leading by 4 points in the fourth quarter with 13 seconds to go. The Raiders had the ball on the Jet 46-yard line. All they had to do was play some contain, some simple, three guys deep.
Prevent.
Just defend. Hail Mary defense. Prevent, thank you. Just some simple prevent defense, and they would have had the game in hand. Thankfully, that did not happen. The defensive coordinator, now ex-defensive coordinator Greg Williams, sent the house. Sent 7 guys at Derek Carr. They almost did sack him, I should say, but Carr eluded the sack in the pocket, threw a beautiful ball to one of the fastest guys in the league, to Henry Ruggs, who pranced into the end zone for a 46-yard score to give the Raiders the win. On Monday, Adam Gase didn't get fired. Greg Williams did. Greg Williams got the can. He's out in New York. So officially, the last man standing is Adam Gase. Why are you surprised? I'm not. Are you surprised that Gase still has a job right now? Of course not. And you know what? He's probably going to have a job after week 17. And if he does, I have no idea what I'm going to do. You're going to have to find another co-host because I'm not going to want to record, dude. It's unbelievable. I was in my basement jumping up and down like the Jets just won Super Bowl 53. And the Raiders won the game. I've never rooted against one of my teams so much. I hate rooting against my teams. I don't care if they are winless like the Jets. But this year, like I've said a million times on this show, Adam Gase needs to get out of New York. Adam Gase needs to get out. I don't care if it means that they're going to go 0-16. And, of course, you do have Trevor Lawrence coming out. So, God, man, I think the Jets are going to do it. You don't think so? You think they're going to win Week 17 up in New England?
Look, I think they have one game to win on their schedule. So Week 16 or 17. I think they get one. I think they sneak in a win there. I just do. I don't know. 0-16 is tough to do.
Well, they are more than 3/4 of the way there. So just about 3/4 of the way there. 4, 8, 12. Yeah, they're 3/4 of the way there. Last quarter of the season, and I think they'll get it done. So Greg Williams out in New York. He's had his share of issues throughout his NFL career, of course, with Bounty Gate down in New Orleans. And then last night, speaking of COVID, very, very weird situation with Des Bryant. I just think this guy has some sort of curse on him. This guy just can't get any luck his way. I mean, even with last year tearing his Achilles in I think it was his first practice with the Saints. So even before he literally stepped on the practice field, he tore his Achilles. Last night, 10 minutes before kickoff, no exaggeration, they came out and said that he tested positive for COVID. So he's all doing his pregame rituals, dapping up everybody left and right, taking his pregame snaps and whatnot, and he gets literally yanked off the field and said that obviously he couldn't play because he tested positive for COVID. And the NFL still went on with the game because they did their contact tracing and deemed that nobody was a high-risk candidate. I don't know how you do that literally in a matter of 20 minutes, but the NFL managed to get it done and squeeze the game in.
I mean,
I couldn't believe it.
High-risk contact means 10 to 15 minutes in 6 feet for 10 to 15 minutes. That's what's considered close contact. So I do believe that there could have been no high contact risks. That doesn't mean that nobody was at risk. It means that no one was in a high contact risk, but it means that they weren't a high risk. And I know it's just weird. Remember, we saw Justin Turner run on the field after COVID. No one in the Dodgers ended up getting that, by the way. No one in the Dodgers ended up testing positive for COVID after he did that. So, and he was probably around some guys more than Dez could have been. But yeah, then Dez tests positive and he just hangs it up. I think he had this game circled on the calendar. He just wanted to get through this game against the Cowboys, and then this got taken away from him, and he was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't miss next week's game, and then it's week. Then I got 2 games left, and he just said, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. Yeah, he was going off on Twitter last night.
Did you see him? Yeah, he was having a day on Twitter. He was saying, I'm gonna get the vino out. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about my business ventures. I'm done. I don't know how he comes back. It's just ever since the Cowboys released him, the guys had zero luck with getting back into the NFL. Zero. I think he played 2 games for the Ravens. I think he had like 3 receptions. Not that the Ravens throw the ball all that much, but just a weird situation with Dez last night. And somehow that overhit. I was very surprised. You want to have anything else, Lou, on the Dez situation? All right. Well, we'll wrap it up as we always do, except for last week. We actually let it off. We're going to do our picks. So we're going to do our picks for, amazingly, Week 14 in the NFL.
So
Lou,
last week,
I
won with Buffalo as my lock. Atlanta was a heartbreaker at +3. They lost by 5 and had so many chances to get in that game and win it. So this week I'm going to take the Bucks -6.5 coming off the bye at home against the Vikings. I think the Vikings are due to drop one here. They should have lost last week to Jacksonville. I think they're going to get pummeled by the Bucks, so I'll take the Bucks -6.5. And my upset pick, an 11-1 team's not the favorite. I'm going to take them. Pittsburgh's +2.5 in Buffalo. So I like Pittsburgh here to bounce back and win this game. Although this will be their 3rd game in their last 12 days, so they might be a tad fatigued, but I'm hoping they overcome that and cover the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that game. Really excited. It could be a great test for that Bills offense, obviously against that great Steelers defense coming off that really disappointing loss against the football team, where really they didn't look all that good in that game, and they didn't look good in the game previously against the Ravens, obviously the rescheduled wacky game that was played on that Wednesday night last week. So I do like those picks. I think that Steelers-Bills game could go either way, and I like the Bucks a lot at home against the Vikings. As far as I go, I had a tough time picking my upset. I'm going to take the Raiders here. I'm going to take the Raiders at home against the Colts. They obviously got lucky against the Jets last week. They got pummeled against the Falcons the week before. The Colts, I don't believe in them. I think they are not a very good football team. Their defense has not been very strong over the course of the past 3 weeks. Definitely not how it was to begin the season. If the Raiders get Josh Jacobs back, I think that's a huge plus for them. I really like Derek Carr's play, and if they get Jacobs back, I mean, they got to get back to the ground and pound. That's their game. That's what John Gruden loves. I'm going to take the Raiders +3 as my upset. And as for my lock, what did I forget? Oh, my lock. Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints -7 in Philly. The Saints defense has been phenomenal all year, going up against Jalen Hurts, rookie quarterback, first career start on a Philly offense that really has been blah all year. What's going to keep this Eagles team in this game is their offense, their defense. Their defense has been pretty stout all year. Saints do not throw the ball. They are purely run. Alvin Kamara, where the hell are you, dude? Because he has really been almost a non-factor ever since Breeze went down. But Taysom Hill, he had his, he had his first career touchdown pass last week. I think he had 2, actually. So that'll be big for that Saints defense or Saints offense. So, but I still like the Saints here -7 purely because of Jalen Hurts in his first career start going up against that defense. So we got a bunch of good, intriguing matchups this week. I think that football team Niners game in Arizona is going to be a really good game.
We do. I do like both your picks this week, but the Raiders looks like they're not going to have Josh Jacobs this Sunday, unfortunately for them. You got Elf on a shelf and Wentz on a bench, so in that one could be a weird Philly. I could see a weird Philly cover in this, but I do like your Saints pick. And last week, Dev, your picks. I should really take away points from your Charger one. They were getting a half a point and lost by 44.5. I mean, I really think I should take away some points
close
for that atrocity of a pick. And your Rams -2.5 covered. So we're still at the same place we were last week. You still got me by 3. Although I feel like I need to take away some points from you for the Chargers there. But you are still on top there. And then before we get off the football chat, I mean, we need to talk about my first place New York Giants. I mean, what a win. What a win last week by the Giants. Just 10.5 point underdogs going into Seattle, playing Russell Wilson. This matchup on paper, you were like, Colt McCoy, he's not going to do much. I mean, you heard me last week say, Dev, I think they could have won this game if Daniel Jones had played. But they won it with Colt McCoy playing. Their run game got it done. I mean, when I was watching them in after halftime, that third quarter, my jaw was dropping how well they played in that third quarter. It was unbelievable how they played. Excuse my language here, but they were playing some, like, fuck you football. Like, I'm just going to run the ball down your throat 2 drives in a row. Completely just ran it down their throat for, like, 80 yards each time. Just completely shoved it right to Seattle, said, we're going to line up. You're 12, you're 11, my 11. We're just going to run the ball down your throat. That's what happened. Just offensive line created those holes. And it's very weird watching there be holes from an offensive line on the Giants. I don't see that a lot. I think Barkley could have had 200 yards on the ground in that game. But, man, was that encouraging to see. And when McCoy had a pocket, he made his throws. He shouldn't have had an interception. I mean, Evan Ingram has had, I think, like 8 tip passes this year that have gone for picks, it feels like. Anything that if he either catches it, if it touches his hands, he's going to catch it, or someone's catching it, whether it's him or the other team, if it hits his hands. Someone's catching it, him or the other team, if it hits Evan Ingram's hands. So that pick by McCoy, not his fault. But now we have next week, we get to see, well, not next Sunday, the following Sunday, we get Dallas and San Francisco out of that Sunday night spot. That would have been an awful game. Forget about Dallas. They're done. They stink. No more Sunday night football for Dallas. We're going to put in the Giants and the Browns on Sunday night football in 2 weeks. So that's fun to see. Giants fans get one night game in here for the rest. One more night game on the year. So that's awesome. And seeing Dallas get kicked out of there is even more awesome. Love to see Jerry Jones's face after getting that news that they're going to put in the Giants instead. So that is beautiful. And Daniel Jones should be back on Sunday. Apparently he wanted to play last Sunday, and Judge and the coaches were just like, hey, chill, sit this one out, rest your hamstring, get healthy, and come back next week. McCoy's been preparing, so on and so forth, and did a good job. He was a game manager and did well. And then the last thing in the Giant news this week, we saw Odell come out and say that he thought he was going to retire with the Giants, and there was no one he would have rather won a championship with than the Giants. And I do believe him here. I do. I don't not believe him, but I definitely think he's telling the truth here, and it was a harsh situation with him in New York. The media didn't do him great here in New York. Any antics he had, that they blew it up, but he didn't turn it around. He didn't stop. He kept going. It was the kicking net. After he scored a huge touchdown against the Ravens, he gets some crazy penalty that puts the kick 15 yards back and gives Baltimore a short field at the end of the game. He was just doing things like this, and when you continue to have some kind of antics and not play the game, the correct way, like he is in Cleveland now. I did see it turn around in Cleveland. He did turn it around in Cleveland. He definitely did. His attitude seems a little bit different, but he did turn it around in Cleveland a little bit more. He's not calling out coaches and so on and so forth, because we did see Odell do that, and he did say he was right about one thing. They did not get pieces for Eli Manning or set up anything to be successful in New York, and that they definitely did not do until you can really say this season. This season is when they finally just turned it around. But maybe Odell, if you didn't kicking nets and call out your coaches or even quarterback a couple times, you'd be a giant today. But instead, Dave Gettleman made a fantastic trade here, going and getting Jabril Peppers, who is a top safety in the league. You can't change my mind. He's a top safety in this league. He is a top tier safety. Watched the game on Sunday. He was absolutely fantastic. In coverage, in blitz, he played out of his mind. He's playing so well right now. The Don Bosco high school player, Jabril Peppers, is playing fantastic. Dexter Lawrence, a force in the middle of that line, and that's really two players right there. It's all you really, and Kevin Zeitler, the guard. Just those three guys in itself is totally worth the trade for Odell. There's no way you'd reverse that trade, and they got a 3rd round pick in Ozanze Eximes, so he's okay. He wasn't a huge part of you trade him back for Odell, but none of those three guys I wouldn't. So Gettleman ended up winning that trade, and he does deserve some credit right now. He did a fantastic job in the 2019 offseason. He really did. He completely flipped the script from his or the 2020 offseason. He completely flipped the script from 2019, where he got like Antoine Bethea, who was horrible, and just didn't draft well, so on and so forth. This year, Andrew Thomas is a stud. Matt Pert could be a future right tackle. He might have got 3 future linemen in last year's draft. Shane Lemieux looks fantastic. I just got to give Gettleman a lot of credit for that right there. He might have built this offensive line in one season. We still haven't seen much from McKinney yet. He hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. They're really easing him back in with this. And with the Giants' defense, the way it's looking right now, he might not really have a set spot in that secondary until next season. So they went out, got him, and their 6th, 7th round picks are making a difference right now, Dev. Tay Crowder, Cam Brown, Carter Coughlin. Yep. 3 of those guys went in the 6th, 7th rounds. Coughlin played great. That's why I said they traded Marcus Golden. They ain't need him. They really ain't need him. They traded him to Arizona. Carter Coughlin played a great game with Kyle Fackrell out. And Tay Crowder and Cam Brown had great games in themselves. Tay Crowder, huge on sacked Russell Wilson. It was a part of another sack with Leonard Williams. Just playing great. And Leonard Williams, too. They hated on him with that trade. Looks pretty darn good right now that they got to franchise tag him for this season. And now you might even think about re-signing him. And, you don't trade for him. He's probably not a Giant right now. So that trade is not the worst thing in the world that Gettleman did. So He obviously had a rough 2018, but he has completely redeemed himself in my eyes. And I know it went on for a while there, but that was my Giants take. I'm extremely happy about where this team is. Extremely happy. I mean, going into next season, they're contenders. Yeah. They're not Super Bowl contenders. They're contenders, though.
You're right. I mean, I don't really have much to add because I think you hit all the bases, but you should be really excited about how this team has excelled over the past few weeks. The Joe Judge effect finally going in and paying dividends. And the only thing I have to add to that is a little bit of a humble brag. I sat next to Jabril Peppers at not one but two Sweet 16s.
Does he remember you?
In high school.
Can we get him on? Can we get him on the show?
He follows me on Twitter.
You gotta throw his
still
DMs.
On Twitter.
Get in those DMs. Let's have Jabril Peppers join the show. Do that.
Maybe I'll slide in.
Do that, and I'll give you a raise.
Can't hurt, right? You'll give me a raise. Oh my God! All right, you buy me a Johnny's Pizza.
Absolutely.
If we get Jabril Peppers in. Oh man! All right. Well, we'll end it with that. Probably not going to have Jabril Peppers on next week, but maybe a few weeks later. Until next week, guys. We'll talk to you soon.